if you are out there and you're a soccer mom or soccer dad, you work for a living, you're taking care of your kids, and you don't have time to keep track of where you read everything, if you Googled that, does Lev Parnas know the president? I thought he retracted that statement about meeting the president. You Google it, that's not what you're going to get. All right, so this weekend, Senator David Perdue, Republican, was on with the second dumbest guy in media, as we know, Joe, Chuck Todd, in the dopey Olympics. Chuck is always a close second, and no matter in the dopey decathlon, the dopey 100-meter, the dopey 400-meter swim, freestyle, whatever it may be, Chuck Todd is always just a sliver behind the dumbest guy in media, who, as Joe knows, is Brian Stelter, of course, from CNN. Stelter. And every time Chuck trains and does something to like flex his dopey muscles, and you think Chuck's got a chance of taking the gold in the dopey Olympics, Stelter, Costanza, always magically beats him out. Stelter's commitment to stupidity is unparalleled. He's like the Rocky of stupidity. Da-da-da, da-da-da. I see him in Rocky 3. You know, remember with Apollo? They're running down the beach. Right. Here's Stelter, Joe. And Rocky's closing in, remember? But here's the thing. The difference is the Rocky Chuck Todd never actually wins. Apollo Brian Stelter always finishes first in the dopey Olympics. But as I said, Chuck is training, and he's almost there. So here's a video this weekend of Chuck Todd with David Perdue, where, again, he just says things, Chuck Todd, that either he doesn't know are incorrect, which I doubt, or he does know are incorrect, and he's just lying to you because he's a full-time Democrat activist. So he's talking about Lev Parnas, the associate of Rudy Giuliani, who has almost zero credibility at this point. He's clearly looks like he's looking for a deal from the Justice Department. He's being prosecuted, and Parnas has been throwing out these unbelievably fantastic, and I don't mean fantastic in a qualitatively good way, just these stories that are just unbelievable. And he keeps getting to shade and checkmated at every turn because a lot of what Parnas is saying is just not true and doesn't comport with what Parnas said in the past. So here's Chuck Todd parroting that point that Lev Parnas is really close to the president. Really close, Joe. How do these people find themselves so close to the president's orbit? Check this out.
Why do you think folks like Mr. Parnas end up so close to the president?
Oh, I don't know. And the president says he doesn't know who he was. He wasn't close to the president at all. I don't accept that at all.
Now,
there we go.
Now, Chuck Todd claims he's not an opinion guy, that he's a news guy. Now, when I say opinion guy, most of you know what I mean, but I'm not suggesting anybody doesn't have an opinion, news or otherwise. I'm suggesting if your job is to be a journalist and report the facts, you're claiming to the audience that you're not giving an opinion or doing journalism. Those are facts. Chuck Todd, the second dumbest guy in media, claims to be a journalist doing facts. Lev Parnas is close to the president? If that's a fact, what evidence do you actually have of that? Now, I'm sure Chuck Todd will come back and say something like, well, Lev Parnas said he met the president. I'll get to that in a second, but here's what's funny about this. And by funny, I mean horrendous. Lev Parnas is clearly not telling the truth at this point, based on Lev Parnas' own statements in the past, about his access to the president. Parnas said he met the president. Again, I'll get to that in a second. But I went on Google this morning to find one of the articles showing that Lev Parnas, who had indicated he had met the president and is now backtracking from that. Get a load of this, Joe. I went on Google. It's not a joke. This is a screenshot from my phone. I went on Google this morning to search for the article showing that Lev Parnas, and here's what, it's a little cut off at the top, but you can see at the top, I Googled Lev Parnas lied, basically about meeting the president. And look what comes up. Donald Trump says he doesn't know Lev Parnas. Parnas says he has pictures with Trump. Lev Parnas photos with Trump and family, despite president's denial. Lev Parnas, Trump is lying. He knows me. That's not what I Googled. I Googled Lev Parnas lied about meeting the president.
How about that?
And Joe, you can't find these articles anywhere. I'm not
shocked,
kidding,
man.
folks. I am not messing with you. I scrolled down probably 6 or 7 pages of content, and every article was about Trump lying. I'm just putting that out there to show you. Get ready for 2020, ladies and gentlemen. You think Google's fair? fair and open, and again, does unbiased search results. Google Lev Parnas lied about meeting the president, and look what you'll get. A bunch of articles about Trump lying about meeting Lev Parnas. Now, how did I eventually get to the article? Because I remember where I saw it in the Washington Examiner. I put in Washington Examiner and the author, and the actual article came up. And this is the article right here, by the way, by Dominic Mastrangelo at the Washington Examiner. Lev Parnas now denies speaking with Trump despite reports he claimed he had. January 16, 2020.
Yeah.
You have to act. This is amazing. You put in the Google search, again, because we do journalism unlike Chuck Todd, who does Democrat activism. He claims in his supposedly news show, Chuck Todd, to a Republican senator that, gee, how is it that all these people wind up so close in the Trump orbit? Without noting at all that Parnas' statements about being inside the Trump orbit have been retracted by Parnas himself. You think that's important? But again, if you are out there and you're a soccer mom or soccer dad, you work for a living, you're taking care of your kids, and you don't have time to keep track of where you read everything, if you Googled that, does Lev Parnas know the president? I thought he retracted that statement about meeting the president. You Google it, that's not what you're going to get.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.